Welcome into an all-new edition of the Belly Up Sports Fantasy Live Football Show on the Belly Up Sports Network. We are almost a week, just over a week, before kickoff of a game that will impact your fantasy careers like no other. And boy, are we excited about it. I'm Vince Stover, host of the Sports Stove Football Show. I am joined, as I am every week, by the senior writer at bellyupsports.com, Kevin Wilson, and the co-host of the 3rd and 10 podcast, Brian Germinaro. Hey, guys, how you doing?
I am doing outstanding. I am ready for some football, and it seems like it's been a long time in coming, but we're almost there, and I am absolutely ready.
Yeah, we got the appetizer this weekend with college, but next week it starts, so let's go.
I love it, man. We had our draft last week. It was an absolute blast. We did it live here on the show. I've got 2 drafts coming up this week that I'm pretty excited about. Completed another one, by the way, on Saturday. A family draft, 10 people, all related. It was crazy, but fun stuff coming up this week.
That's right.
And,
did you happen to do one while you were also live on a show? Because I have accomplished that.
Yeah, so I try to focus solely on the program I'm doing, Kevin.
That was because you dropped the ball on Sunday, so that was not my fault. So,
all right, Kevin, we're docking your pay. All right. So Kevin is right. Sunday night or Monday night, we did our fantasy baseball show. Kevin completed a draft just at the very beginning of that, wrapping up a draft. Right. As we had a late start there, but. Listen, we got fun stuff today to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit of defense. We got all kinds of news to discuss with players being put on the PUP list, guys that are demanding trades, new starters being announced, waivers, all this stuff going on. We also have a new sponsor to talk about. We'll talk about that later in the program, so stick around for that. And then we'll close out the episode today with some must-gets in your draft, talking about targeting those guys, round 10 or later. So plenty of things to discuss today. Let's get into it. We're going to start off with our opening segment. We call it the lead block. I feel like the lead block is an extra special name today because Kevin's team, the Seattle Seahawks, have kept 2 fullbacks on their team, on their roster. Everyone else has cut all their fullbacks, but not the Seahawks. They're going to redefine running the football this year.
Not just that, Vince, but they also kept 4 tight ends.
Right. So basically 6 fullbacks is what you're telling me.
There's zagging. Everyone else is zagging. Bringing it back to 1940s football. I love it.
That's right. So
see if the triple option shows up, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be some fun. The wing tee. It's going to be some good stuff. All right. Let's start the show off talking about defense because we've kind of ignored defense up to this point in the program and the couple months we've been doing this season. We did talk about it some during our draft last week. I thought it was a great conversation, but I wanted I wanted you guys to give just a couple of defenses that you really like. There are some obvious ones, of course. I'll say this, though. One thing we did not cover on the show last week that I really like about when I'm thinking about defenses to pick up is the division, and specifically this year, the NFC South. I kind of like the defenses in the NFC South because, well, you're going to get to play the Saints twice. You're going to get to play the Panthers twice. You're going to get to play the Falcons twice. Buccaneers are good, so I don't really throw them in there as much on that offensively, but I love the opportunity to go against rookie quarterbacks, go against teams that are not very good, of course, as often as possible. And so there's some I've been targeting. I haven't really had to at this point because the way defenses have been drafted. But I've got a team I really, really like. I'm going to see if you guys mention them first. If you don't, then I'll bring them up. But Brian, let's start with you. What's a defense? You're sitting here in draft season right now, peak fantasy football draft season. And what's your thoughts on defense, and who are you kind of looking at as one that's attainable for people to get?
Well, first off, for defense for me, I know, I think it was it Blaine that said that they should draft a kicker in the 9th round last week?
Kelsey, yeah.
Kelsey said that it was kicker in the 9th round. For defense, I do not draft defense before the 3rd to last round. If the defense goes for that, major mistake. So I normally try to do it, like I said, with a good coach. I also like to look at this one of the units at top 5, like if it's top 5 secondaries, all right, that's going to be more interceptions. If it's top 5 defensive line, more sacks, more fumbles. So a defense I really like is the Bills. They're ranked 5th defensive line according to Pro Football Focus. And when you have Joey Bosa, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, that's pretty much set up. I know they have questioned their secondary, but they were 5th interceptions last year. And with, the kid from Kentucky, I think this Bills defense is going to be really good once again.
Yeah, and even if you look at defense or division there, you're looking at the Patriots. Drake May, we all think he's going to be better, but he's still young. His receivers aren't awesome. Tua, we were all a little down on him anyhow, and if he gets injured, then you're talking about Zach Wilson, and we all know that defense would love to play.
I've discussed this bench where he's embarrassed us Wilsons throughout the land, so we don't need to get into that.
That's the best part of having a not unique last name. No one embarrass us.
That's right. All right, Kevin, what are you looking at defense?
Well, you can call me Homer if you want, but I think one of the defense we need to look at is, in fact, the Seahawks, as they were 14th overall a year ago, and I see that they have an excellent chance of finishing in the top 10 this year. They added Imanuri, who was a first-round talent in the second round. He's a missile out there. They led the league in defensive touchdowns, tied with Denver. And if you look at their early on schedule, they got San Francisco to start with. And I don't think they've got some issues over there in the 49ers. So playing up in Seattle is not a good thing for them. And then they also have New Orleans. They've got Jacksonville in their early schedule. And if you like to stream defenses, which is a strategy I highly recommend.
Yeah.
And I just like to say also that I'm glad we're in leagues that do play defense and kickers, because I completely reject. I hear this all the time. Well, I'm in a league with no defense or kickers. Well, I'm okay for you. But, because it's a part of football. But so the Seahawks are a team, I think, especially out of the gate, is a team that you need to look at as far as defense goes.
Okay. Brian, you got another team that you think people are worth going after?
Yeah, kind of similar with the Bills. It's the Houston Texans. They have one of the better secondaries in the league. That's 4th according to Pro Football Focus. They have Will Anderson on the line. And like you said, they're in a weak division. They're going to play the Colts twice a year, which, none of us are very high in the Colts offense with Daniel Jones. Tennessee has a lot of question marks on offense. Just not just Cam Ward, but especially now with, Spears on the IR. Who knows what that running game is going to look like? Jacksonville's going to have question marks on their offense. So I like the Texans defense. I think at 6 really good matchups there.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good one for sure. All right, Kevin, who's the second one for you?
Okay, so if we stream defenses I was just mentioning earlier, I like the Vikings early on, and because they've got the Chicago Bears. We don't know what kind of offense they're going to have. They've got Atlanta. They don't know what kind of offense they're going to have. And they came out of the gate strong last year because they had 117 fantasy points in their first 10 weeks. And so stream them early, because later they've got the NFC East and the AFC North on their schedule. That's going to be hard, for a defense. So early on, though, I like the Vikings to start the season.
I like it. I like it for sure. I think I go back to the South. I think the Jaguars are always an intriguing defense to me. They've got some really good defenders down there. If the offense can give them any help, which Brian Thomas Jr. definitely helps out a lot in that situation too. Playing in that division, same as Houston. I really like that, but they do have to play Houston twice. I don't love that necessarily, but the defense that I've kind of got my eye on this year is the Atlanta Falcons. Now look at Atlanta and what they did this offseason. They've been dying to find a pass rusher for a few years now. And so this year they decided, all right, we're gonna hit on pass rush. They went out and signed Leonard Floyd. They brought in 2 guys in the draft, Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., both of them first-round picks. Both of them should be getting at the quarterback. And then I always pronounce this guy's name wrong, so Atlanta fans, I am sorry. But Arnold Ebiketie as well, the second-round pick from 2022, is still there too. So you got them on the line. Then on the backside, I love their safety room this year. Jesse Bates is back there still, and they drafted Xavier Watts in the 3rd round. I absolutely love that pick also. They also drafted Billy Bowman from Oklahoma in the secondary. A.J. Terrell's still there. Mike Hughes is fine. D. Alford's fine. Mike Ford's fine. All that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I just like Atlanta this year because of Carolina, New Orleans. We're going to talk about New Orleans more in a moment. But to me, Atlanta's the sneaky one that no one's drafting. No one's really thinking about. You can get them last pick of the draft. You can pick them up in the waiver wire in the right matchup, all that kind of good stuff. But I think by the time we get to the halfway point in the season, I think the Atlanta defense is going to be a top 10 defense. And I think people will be at that point, they won't be available on the waiver wire anymore. I'm expecting big things out of them this year. So I don't know, guys, what do you think with those rookies? Even the coaching staff, everything in Atlanta, all we talk about is Penix and London and is Pitts ever going to show up and all that good stuff and Bijan Robinson. But I think this defense could be scary for them this year. What do you think, Brian?
No, it definitely can be scary for them. I don't know if the sack numbers will be there, but when they play in that weak division, I think they definitely can get a few games where they look like a top 10 defense.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And the division is the trump card here, as you mentioned. And they brought in a lot of new faces, as you also mentioned. So there's something to be said. And I don't know, as you mentioned, they're going to be available. So I don't know if you need to draft them right out of the gate. But definitely keep an eye on them based on matchups. And you want to get them on your team probably earlier than later because, as you mentioned, they won't be there after a while. But I don't know if you're going to want to draft them right out of the gate.
Yeah, I would take them as defense 1. Like I think there's enough defenses out there that you can draft someone solid. If you like to carry 2 defenses, then last pick of the draft, go get them. If you're going to stream like Kevin was talking about, be ready to jump on them early in the season as well. So that's my philosophy at the very least. Buffalo has been a team I've targeted. Baltimore a little bit as well. Green Bay just because I am a homer in some ways, but I like what they've done this offseason too. So that's kind of the teams that I've been focusing on, with Atlanta being my backup plan basically there. So all right, anything else?
One more team, that's the New
about?
England Patriots.
Okay.
Okay, because they start off with a schedule. They've got Carolina, New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland in their first 6 games.
Yeah.
And if they can, we don't know what kind of offense Las Vegas is going to have. That's their first game, but they're on the road. And then Miami also at home. So I think this is a defense that you can latch onto and maybe go with the first 6 weeks of the season.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Vrabel and what he did in Tennessee. Every game was, 17-14, something like that. Yeah, I love that one, Kevin. Brian, you've been kind of a Patriot guy this year.
Yeah, surprisingly so. But no, for years I loved the Patriots defense. I don't know if I was as high on it this year, but I definitely could get behind drafting them.
Yeah, the Brady Bowl week 1, Raiders, Patriots,
Ooh.
and Brady won't even be there. So, anyways,
which team is Brady going to root for?
All right, that's the lead block. Let's head into segment number 2. We call it the cover 2. All right, there is a lot to cover in the cover 2 today. I want to start with the oldest news, and that is Brian Robinson Jr. He gets traded from Washington, and again, we talked about this a little bit. Just with it was up in the air the last time that we recorded. What's going to happen to him? Where's he going to go? All that kind of stuff. And now, when you look at the Washington Commanders, you've got Austin Eckler. You've got Bill Krosky-Merritt, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He apparently goes by Bill, so we'll call him that. You got Chris Rodriguez, who I really like, and I saw him a lot in college when I lived in Lexington as well. So I still, Kevin drafted Austin Eckler, right? I think you did.
I did.
In our draft, and I was sitting there thinking, I don't know that Eckler's going to be RB1. Like he's still going to get some points, but I'm staying away from Washington running backs, so I'm interested to get your guys' thoughts now on the situation in Washington. Kevin, since you drafted Eckler, let's let you start it off.
Okay, so we, as you mentioned, we discussed this last week during the draft, and so we'll get into Robinson in a minute. But Austin Eckler, he's always lived by catching the football.
Yeah.
He can rush it, of course, but he lives on catching the football. I think that's where he's going to excel. And Bill with the 3 names, everybody is really, really getting behind this guy. And I think I'm just a little bit hesitant to do that right now. And but I really liked, especially in PPR, I like Austin Eckler's ability to catch the football. I think he'll be on the field more because now Robinson's not there. And so I think there's value to be had. There was value when I took him, but there's more value now that Robinson's not there anymore. So I'm glad that situation made itself clear this early on before a lot of people are still, waiting to draft. So I think Austin Eckler's got an excellent amount of value coming to him.
Yeah, it's intriguing that a 7th-round draft pick from Arizona is getting the publicity that he's getting. Obviously, a good camp, good preseason, all that good stuff. I'm intrigued, though, how quickly people jumped on the bandwagon with this one. Brian, you're a fan in the division. You got to be going, well, we may have traded Saquon Barkley away, but at least we have running backs in our room right now.
Yeah, exactly. We know who our running backs are going to be. And, as much hype as the guys like, Krusky Merritt are getting and the other rookie running back they have here, we have to remember at the end of the day, what they did was in the preseason. Yeah, that might have some carryover and the running backs you can find at every position. But it's a lot different when you're going up against, second string guys or maybe the first string guys in kind of like a not important game compared to week 1. Like Brett Coleman, who's a popular NFL YouTuber, tweeted out that in some rounds, Krusky Merritt was going in the 7th round. That is way too high to even consider him. Like, I'm fine if you want to take a shot at him in like your last round of the draft, but anything higher than that is a complete miss. I'm with you, Vince. I'm saying complete far away from Washington's running attack this year.
All right, now let's go to Brian Robinson, because coming into this, before it was rumored that he was going to be off the team, we all kind of liked him as an RB2, RB3 kind of play in fantasy because we knew he was going to get 700 yards and a handful of touchdowns. Now, though, I'm curious, how do you feel about Brian Robinson Jr.? And we'll start with you, Brian, on this one.
I mean, I'm a little hesitant at first with Brian Robinson because he's behind Christian McCaffrey. If anything, I like this trade for Christian McCaffrey's value because now the Niners can rest him now a couple of plays. He's no longer going to be a focal point in the offense. Robinson can come in and at least, tread water and carry, it's not going to be such a fallback. But I'm kind of concerned because if it's a game where if we're going to get, what we're used to seeing from CMC, there's going to be games where Brian Robinson's just invisible.
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin, your thoughts on Brian Robinson Jr. in San Francisco?
Well, I think that we're going to need to see because now he's in contention with Guerendo. Okay. And so I don't know. I think Robinson will probably win the backup slot there, but we don't know that for sure at this point. And so I have a lot less. There's a lot less value to me now that he's on the 49ers, but he has more value because last week we wanted nothing to whatever to do with him. And so he moves up a little bit and maybe I don't know, maybe because I drafted CMC in our draft. And so maybe he's got some value there, but I'd have to go back to see our roster. I don't know if he's available. Probably not. But should be right, and but he's going to have to beat out Guerendo, and I think he will. But there's a lot of running backs now in San Francisco, and so the value of everybody other than CMC is questionable to me.
Yeah, he'll definitely be running back too. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Guerendo had some good moments, but he also got a little dinged up here in the preseason too. So I think what you were getting at and getting close to, Kevin, that I think is if I have Christian McCaffrey on my team and I'm able to roster Brian Robinson, I'm going to do that because when Christian McCaffrey goes down, Brian Robinson will do fine in that offense. As far as who will be available at that time of year, whenever that is. So you talk about those handcuffs, and that's what Brian Robinson is, a perfect handcuff right now in San Francisco. And if I have McCaffrey and I am able to roster a running back that I don't plan on playing unless McCaffrey gets injured, Robinson's the guy I'm grabbing because he is going to be very good if McCaffrey goes down. But until then, I don't like his value. I don't like him on my roster. I'm not going to play him. That's for sure if McCaffrey's healthy. So that's where I sit with it.
So, so if you're doing your draft from here on out and take CMC, you definitely want to look at him later in the draft.
Agreed. All right, let's talk about a few guys that signed first. Terry McLaurin, he gets his deal done. He seems incredibly happy. Got pretty much what he wanted for the most part, and everyone's happy in Washington. I drafted Debo in the league because McLaurin wasn't signed yet, and I thought I'd feel a whole lot better about Debo if McLaurin's not there. Well, he is there now. I don't feel as good about that draft pick. But that being said, good for Terry. Good to get it done. Good for Washington, by the way. Jaden Daniels, I mean, they obviously connected last year. They added things this year. Their run game is going to be a little questionable here to see how it goes here early on. So to get Terry locked in was really, really smart of them. But Trey Hendrickson's the other one. He got a deal done, but it wasn't what he was looking for. He gets paid well this year, but that's it. He wanted to be done with the 1 year stuff, get something locked in. It did not happen. Good thing for both of them. They got something done so that he will play because the Bengals desperately need Trey Hendrickson on the league or on the field. And we've talked about that, but I don't know. Just quick thoughts on that, Kevin, Terry McLaurin and Trey Hendrickson getting their deals done.
Well, we discussed McLaurin, of course, and what we think of him. And so you could slot him exactly where you had him before all this discussion began, as far as where you're ranking him as a wide receiver. And so there's no reason to raise him. There's no reason to lower him. Just keep him where you have him. And because we all, at least I know that there's touchdown reduction coming with him. And so I kind of backed away a little bit because of that. But other than that, he's a solid wide receiver, 5 straight years of 1,000 yards receiving. And so wherever you have him in your rankings, go ahead and have him there. And if he's there and you're comfortable, go ahead and take him because there's certainly value to be had now that he's on the team.
Agreed. Brian, your thoughts?
I mean, I'm just glad for both these teams that the drama is over. Like in Washington, it's for years now. They've been trying to kind of change that culture, move away from, the dysfunction that was Dan Snyder and move to this new era. And Terry McLaurin's contract extension kind of went against that. So glad they got that deal done. Definitely more confident with him and Jaden Daniels. Both going to have a great year. Like Kevin said, touchdowns will go down, but he's still going to be a solid option. And Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals defense now is kind of like that meme where it's like that Shaq with the Lamborghini in it. So good for them.
And let me just say, because if you watch the Monday night game last Monday, that Cincinnati defense was absolutely pathetic. Mm-hmm. And after they saw that, they had to know. And I believe that somebody had that this was going to get done as far as a deal. So you might want to go back and check some of our earlier shows and find out who that was. But so it certainly betters their defense, but I don't think it raises it to the level that it's going to help with Joe Burrow a whole lot. He's going to have to do exactly what he did a year ago. So if you and I really like Joe Burrow, and this keeps him right where I had him ranked.
Let's talk about some injuries. Joe Mixon, we knew he was injured. Houston puts him on the PUP list. All right, so let's talk about what that means fantasy-wise. Drafting Joe Mixon, 4 weeks gone, does that mean that he's now a great value? Or does that mean now he's at risk at losing snaps because his backup plays well? Kevin, your thoughts on Joe Mixon on the PUP list?
That's really going a lot further than I thought that it would. So
Yeah.
he's much more injured than I thought. Because I thought maybe they'll nurse it a little bit and they'll get into the regular season and things might be okay. But 4 weeks, and there's no guarantee that after that 4 weeks he's going to be on the field.
Yeah.
And so if you're like me and you took what his backup was going to be later on, but you're not going to be able to get him as later as I did, obviously now. But I think there's every indication that when he gets back, he's going to be the second at the very best running back on the Houston Texans, because the other guy is going to go in there, and I think he left Cleveland behind, and the injury problems are behind him. So I really like him as their starter, and I don't think I'd take anything with Joe Mixon right now.
Okay, Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think this does wonders for Nick Chubb's value.
Absolutely.
He's gonna remind everybody why he was that bell cow back in Cleveland before that horrific knee injury. And I also kind of would just stay away from Joe Mixon entirely. Like, sure, we know he's gonna miss 4 games, but like you said, Kevin, how injured is this guy? We don't know. It might take him, 5 to 6 weeks to get back onto the field. And then how long for him to get healthy? We've seen guys in the past, they miss those first few games, their routine gets thrown off, and they're never able to bounce back. Joe Mixon, I think, could be another case of that this season.
So I'll play devil's advocate in this situation because, first of all, Joe Mixon has had to come back from injury before. He was injury prone in college, injury prone in the pros, whatever it may be. I think, and I don't have inside information on this, I think the Texans realized they have the luxury of not rushing him back. So if he's not going to be ready for week 1, and we already have Nick Chubb, and I know people like to hate on Dameon Pierce, but Dameon Pierce is a solid number 2 running back. And so if we don't have to rush him back, the division stinks. So we know all we got to do is hang with the Jags, and that's about it. So I think at the end of the day, I think Houston said, let's do the smart thing, because it's better for us to have Mixon and Chubb both, but it's better to have at least one of them as healthy as possible going into the playoffs. And this allows them to do that, I think. So I'm not afraid of Mixon. I do think it hurts. It should drop his value, first of all, just because. Why would you draft Joe Mixon where you had him originally ranked when he's going to miss 4 games? And we are already wondering what's Nick Chubb going to look like when he plays and all that good stuff too. So I think it drops his value. I'm looking at Joe Mixon. I'd still probably have him around maybe mid-20s to up, 20, lower 20s, something like that. In my rankings right now. And that would just give me the opportunity to snag him somewhere late where I'm already grabbing a guy that I don't love anyhow. So I might as well grab Joe Mixon and see what happens. See if we hit some magic later in the draft. So that's my thoughts on him, but he's not the only one. Tajay Spears goes on the PUP list too. And I was already kind of an anti-Titan running back guy this year. I'm not a Pollard guy. That being said, though, I like Pollard a whole lot more today than I liked him yesterday. So Tajay Spears goes on the PUP. He's out 4 weeks at least. What does that do for Tony Pollard in your eyes, Brian?
It actually I'm actually a little more worried about Tony Pollard, because we've seen in the past when he was in Dallas, when he was the number 1 running back, supposed to be kind of that bell cow, he disappointed. He put up decent numbers, but nowhere near where we expected it to. And you look at that, Titans running back room, ESPN has, Julius Chestnut as the RB2. That guy's been in the league for 4 years. Apparently played college at Sacred Heart. I live 25 minutes away from Sacred Heart. I had no idea they had a football team. So I'm going to stay far away from Tony Pollard this year. I was, burned what happened in Dallas. I'm not going to get burned again.
Yeah. Kevin?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Brian, because I am in Dallas. And I saw what happened when he was the number 2 guy. He came in there and was the flash and, to the bam and everything else. And what they found was when he was the regular guy, he wore down. And so now he doesn't have this backup, which Spears want nothing to do with him. But at least he could, to get some carries and get Pollard off the field a little bit. And I have no idea at this point who his backup is. You might know this, but I am not. I wasn't out in Pollard to begin with, and this takes me completely out of the running for him.
Yeah, Brian said it. Julius Chestnut and Kalel Mullings, 6th-round draft pick this year. That's all they've got. And it's only Pollard. Those three guys.
Bad.
A great name, but not a good football player.
Yeah,
right.
Great name. But
the depth on offense in Tennessee is not good this season all the way around. So that's why I'm staying away from Titans pretty much. I'm not even looking at drafting them personally. But that's just me. Okay. Let's see here. Let's talk about a few starters. Spencer Rattler gets named starter in New Orleans over Tyler Shuck. I want to say I'm surprised. I don't think that this is the way to truly tank. I think that you need to put Tyler Shuck in there to tank so that you get the quarterback next year. Spencer Rattler is going to be that guy that's going to get you, 5 wins, 6 wins, enough wins to not get you number 1 overall, basically is my thought. I think New Orleans is horrible. Worst team in the league. Personally, Spencer Rattler gets the start. Kevin, I know fantasy-wise, we're not touching Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck. So let's talk about real football a little bit. And tell me about the Saints and their decision to go with Spencer Rattler.
I heard this earlier today, of course, but I was surprised because I thought they'd go with the rookie. And as you mentioned, just kind of go down with the ship.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if this, because I drafted Chris Olave after I had said I was out on him, but I liked his position where I got him in the draft. And so the veteran, I think, raises Chris Olave's value a little bit. And so in that aspect, I'm a little happier that he's the starter, but not much more. And I don't think there was a real answer here. And there's a rookie head coach down there. And when we were discussing all this, the words that came to me was he's over his head. And so we'll wait to see if that is in fact the case. But I don't know if there's a right answer here at all. But I guess you go with the veterans, see what happens. And because you don't want the young guy to get his legs broken in the first game he plays. So maybe that's what they were thinking when they made this decision.
Brian, your thoughts on New Orleans going with the Rattler?
I'm surprised they went with either one of them. I thought they'd be one of those teams that traded for a Kenny Pickett or maybe signed a Tommy DeVito, and I guess there is still time for that to happen. But I'm surprised with Rattler. Like, you kind of knew what Rattler was. You weren't going to win this year, and Tyler Shuck is not a young quarterback. Like, he's young in terms of
he's older than Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you don't have a lot of time to develop him. It's not like, he's JJ McCarthy and he's 20 years old coming out. It's basically Brandon Whedon 2.0. I would have just started him right away.
What a great comparison, Brian. I like that a lot.
This brings me back to the point, Jameis Winston should be the quarterback in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Spencer Rattler, unless Kellen Moore is a QB savant, which he's not, and I can tell you why he's not, because never mind. He's not.
He's not.
At one point, everyone thought he was the next McVay.
Yeah. So I'm a little surprised by this. You said it, Kevin. That was my next point. Rattler's 24. Tyler Shuck's 25. So, I mean, it's wild, absolutely wild. And they only kept 2. They got rid of the guy the fans loved in Hainer and decided to go with just 2 guys as well. So intriguing things going on in New Orleans now.
Intriguing, not necessarily in a good way.
It's another reason I'm scared of Kamara. I'm not drafting him this year. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, I'm not touching them this year either.
Especially
Kevin said he's not, but he did.
Got the question mark behind his name. Don't want nothing to do with him.
Yeah. Brandon Cooks. No, not
no, Brandon Cooks is still in the league.
He's still in the league. That's correct. All right. Let's talk about another receiver. Amari Cooper re-signs or goes back to the Raiders, the team he started with. And by the way, not just him. he said, hey, let me get my boy Kenny Pickett here too. So Kenny Pickett comes over in the trade. The Raiders backup O'Connell injured. He's out for a while. They needed a backup, and the Browns have a team full of backup quarterbacks, and so they send Kenny Pickett to the Raiders as well. And by the way, Jacoby Myers isn't happy with his contract. He wants out of Las Vegas. Convenient that Amari Cooper signed a day after the Myers news dropped. Probably has something to do with it. But Cooper's not what he used to be, obviously. But the Raiders need just some stability, in my opinion. And I think that Amari Cooper, given a few weeks, I think he could be a help to this team and kind of what they're doing this year. And I think Pete Carroll's the right coach for Amari Cooper as well. So, Kevin, your thoughts on Cooper and even the backup quarterback situation? Pickett obviously is better than what they would have had without Pickett.
Well, I think that trade makes sense for both sides, Cleveland and the Raiders. There was talk, multiple guys were talking about how they are going to keep 4 quarterbacks on their roster. That made no sense whatsoever. And so they were able to actually get something for him, which was kind of a shocker. So they just didn't have to release him. They got something for him. And now they've got a backup because, Geno is no longer a young guy. Right. And Aiden, and even before he got hurt, Aiden looked awful against the Seahawks. Okay, so that was not looking good. So they've got some stability now in their quarterback room. And that's all that is, though, is stability. But as far as Cooper is concerned, I think that there's some, I don't know about fantasy value, but there's some value to be had in that room now. And maybe he can go put his arms around Mr. Myers and say, hey, it's way too late now and the season's coming right up. So you need to shut up and just go out and play and calm things down in that receiver room. I think there's a lot of value to be had team-wise bringing him in. So, you got to be out as far as Amari Cooper being the receiver that he was. But as far as being in that room, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think it affects real football more than fantasy football.
Absolutely.
I think it's relatively positive for Vegas. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, no, this is definitely a move that affects real football more than fantasy football. The only thing it really does is maybe it turns a Jack back into more of a dynasty option than a late round guy you kind of find. But no, I like the move for the Raiders. Cooper was okay in his time in Buffalo last year. He 20 reception, 32 attempts. Nothing terrible. I think he'd be fine with Geno Smith. And if, Myers forces his way out, he could be a solid mentor to those young guys and be kind of that, interim wide receiver 1 until they can, really adjust that situation.
We've heard about bridge quarterbacks. We don't hear a whole lot about bridge receivers. Maybe Amari Cooper can be that. And maybe Jacoby Myers gets his contract. You never know when it's all said and done as well. All right, guys, any other cuts or news that happened this week that you think has an impact on fantasy? Go ahead,
Not
Kevin.
fantasy, okay. But there was one cut I wanted to mention specifically, and that's MVS in Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm throwing all the confetti that I can because I wanted him to have nothing to do with the Seahawks. I don't know why they brought him in the first place. I was completely against that from the very beginning because, as I mentioned, he's played with all-world quarterbacks and has nothing to show for it. And he got cut. And as I mentioned, Mr. Horton is a wide receiver. He made the team. And MVS, they just threw him off the side of the road. So
let me say this about Marquez Valdez-Scantling as a Packer fan. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a cornerback in a wide receiver's body. And what I mean by that is he can't catch. So he should be on defense. Move him to cornerback, and maybe you got something. I had so many memories of MVS dropping touchdown passes. Oh, gosh, don't get me started.
Okay, so I didn't mean to, ignite you with images that pop into your brain, but those were the very images I'm talking about when they signed him in the first place. I was dumbfounded, and I expected him to get cut. He was absolutely absent on the playing field during the preseason. So, yay for the Seahawks, and I can't imagine that there's a team out there that would want him.
He'll sign. He'll go somewhere.
I'm sure that
where's the question? But
I wouldn't be breaking the doors down for him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
no, but
Minnesota
just name value that someone will sign him for.
Yeah, Minnesota needs receivers. He could sign there. If they end up getting Thielen, he could go sign in Carolina. Someone gets injured, whatever. He'll be on a roster, but
as long as it's not the Seahawks, I'm good.
Yeah. All right, Brian. Any cuts you want to discuss? Waves, anything like that?
I was a little surprised the Giants cut Devante Miller, I thought was going to be our fourth running back. He's not a guy that's a traditional running back. He can't really guy you can hand the ball off to. But what the Giants used him this year in preseason was more screen passes, more kind of a gadget guy, and he was doing really well in that role. I thought he'd come in, kind of be like a Shane Vereen-esque type running back, and Austin Eckler, where he's just kind of got that value with the receiving. Maybe you can line him up outside in the slot, turn him into like that check down merchant. But I thought he'd be a nice safety blanket for Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson. I guess not.
I'm wondering if old Deuce Vaughn ends up in Denver. A couple of weeks ago, Sean Payton was talking about Darren Sproles and how important he was to their team and, all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, Deuce Vaughn gets cut in Dallas. And I think, well, that seems like a perfect fit. He's not – I don't know if he's quite the mind that Darren Sproles was, but size-wise, he's a perfect match. So, I don't know. We'll see if he ends up there.
Is Deuce Vaughn the one that had the his dad draft him, the scout?
Yes.
Man, what an awkward conversation that must have been. Hey, we're cutting your son today.
Hey, it's a business, so we're told.
Oh, yeah.
On there. All right. Anybody else you want to discuss, guys?
No, that's it.
All right. Very good. That's the cover 2. Let's head into segment number 3. We call this one the read option. And as we enter into the read option, we have a brand new segment for you during this tonight, and it's introducing our brand new sponsor here on the Belly Up Fantasy Football live podcast show / extravaganza. And that is the one and only Rotobot AI. And tonight we're going to act a lot. Rotobot AI. You say, well, what is that? Rotobot is an AI fantasy football platform that equips users to make decisions faster and smarter. Rotobot's AI is able to recognize each user's unique scenario and tailor roster advice based on that. Sit starts, trades, waiver wire pickups, everything is turning to AI. Why not have an AI that is designed solely for fantasy football use? And of course, it still has all the data that AI can pull up as well on top of all those things. And today we want to ask Rotobot a question. And the question that we are asking Rotobot is this simple question. This is what I typed into my phone. Hey, Rotobot AI, should I start DJ Moore or Devante Adams in week 1 and why? Well, Rotobot pops up the answer, types it in here. It says for week 1, start Devante Adams over DJ Moore based on 2025 projections and matchup context. Adams offers a higher touchdown projection and overall PPR scoring edge, despite being the Rams' wide receiver 2 behind Puka Nacua. His role as a key red zone target and Matthew Stafford's history and supporting a wide receiver production give him a safer floor and a higher ceiling. Moore is the Bears wide receiver 1 with solid volume, but a less efficient and lower touchdown profile, plus more competition for targets. The recommendation is start Devante Adams in week 1 for more reliable and higher upside fantasy performance. All that from just asking one simple question to Rotobot AI, and that is, should I start DJ Moore or Devante Adams in week 1? And we invite you to, sure enough, why not ask Rotobot AI a question. Now, this deal and their partnership, we've been in discussion for a couple of weeks, finalized today. So next week, we'll have a link for you to get signed up. You can go in, check it out. You can apply it to your fantasy team, and Rotobot can help you this season, right alongside of us, the guys at Belly Up Fantasy Sports as well. And so to have Rotobot on board, we are ecstatic to bring them into the team here at Belly Up Fantasy Live Football. And we're going to be talking all about them. Each week, we'll ask the bot a question. And there will be some weeks where we will maybe even make it a competition between Rotobot and Kevin and Brian. We'll put something up about who should we start. And after the following week, we'll go back and check the scoreboard and see how we're doing with that as well. So welcome Rotobot AI to the team. We're excited to continue to work with you down the road and to see how all the ways that not only will you help this program, but help our listeners as well. So friends, make sure you start looking into Rotobot AI. And like I said, next week, we'll have more information and ways for you to sign up as well for that. So it's going to be a great time with Rotobot AI. All right, guys, read option now. And DJ Moore and Devante Adams is the first one I wanted to bring up. And now we're not asking necessarily who you start week 1, but we are asking as you're still in the draft season right now. And these guys are being drafted awfully close together. And so I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. DJ Moore or Devante Adams when you're drafting in this coming week. Kevin, let's start with you on this one. Who are you taking, Moore or Adams?
Well, that was a very extensive answer, let me just say, that you got from a simple question. And so impressed. So right off the bat. So the thing with these two guys that all comes back to me is the quarterback. And I don't have any confidence in the back of the Rams quarterback, so to speak. Okay. And so it seems like DJ Moore has been around forever, which he kind of has, but he's still 4 years younger than Devante Adams is. And I think that this is going to work between him and the quarterback and Johnson. That whole scenario is going to work out pretty well. And there is competition for receptions there, but I think he's going to come out of this on the top. And so what the question is, if I'm taking Moore or I'm taking Adams, I'm taking Moore in this scenario here.
Okay. Brian, are you taking DJ Moore or Devante Adams?
I'm going with DJ Moore as well with what Kevin said. And also DJ Moore is kind of the only proven commodity on that Bears offense. Like you have Roman Ducey, who's coming off a disappointing rookie season. Brundon and Loveland are unproven. Cole Kmet's the only other veteran skill position player on that team. And also Moore is the wide receiver 1. Adams, as good as he is going to be wide receiver number 2 behind Puka Nacua. So we don't know how that relationship's going to go. So I feel like Moore is the more safe pick.
Guys, I don't like to do this very often, but you're both wrong. Devante Adams is the right pick here. And here's why. First of all, Devante Adams and Puka Nacua are the only reliable receiving options in Los Angeles. You can tell me the tight end is. I disagree with you. You could tell me Tutu Atwell is, but you wouldn't say that because you know that's not true either. So I think there's only 2 options to throw the ball to outside of the running back in Los Angeles. And I think Adams is going to do just fine where he's getting drafted at. DJ Moore's being drafted in the same area. And I quite honestly, I don't trust DJ Moore this year. I think Odunze has a breakout year. I think that Luther Burden is going to be really solid as a rookie. I think that Loveland and Kmet are going to get a lot of activity as tight ends 1 and 2 in this offense with Ben Johnson. DJ Moore he got brought in by Ryan Poles, but he did not get brought in by Ben Johnson. And he's a veteran. There are some positives to that, but whether it's just there's so many targets there, or it's just that the other targets I think are going to get more targets than DJ Moore. I purely gut, obviously, but I just think DJ Moore is not going to do well. He may even cause problems because he has before and end up getting traded away from Chicago. And then it all depends on where he goes at that point, because we've seen him cause issues in that locker room already in Chicago. I would not be surprised if he doesn't get happy with the amount of targets he gets and he's either pouting on the sideline or he ends up getting traded at some point too. So I'll take Adams, but I still think both of them belong where they're getting drafted. I think they're in that same relative area. And I would take Adams over Moore. Honestly, I'm probably passing on both, but I would take Adams over Moore in that situation. So for that reason, you guys are wrong. All right, let's talk about the quarterback for DJ Moore next, and that is Caleb Williams. And every draft that I've been in so far, every practice draft that I've done so far, I have been shocked to see how far CJ Stroud falls in these drafts. And him and Caleb Williams are getting drafted around the same area. So we just talked about all the weapons that Caleb Williams has. And year two and first year under Ben Johnson's offense, we expect him to grow and get better. CJ Moore, sophomore slump. He's got a good offense too, good weapons around him. But we've seen good and we've seen bad from CJ Stroud. So I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. CJ Stroud or Caleb Williams? Brian, we'll let you kick this one off.
I'm going to go with CJ Stroud, not only for the reason I mentioned why I would take more, kind of the same reason I took Moore, because that receiving room is inexperienced, whereas CJ Stroud's going to be thrown to guys like Nico Collins and Christian Kurtz and Dalton Schultz. Also, we also talk about how bad CJ Stroud was last year. He still put in a respectable season, 3,700 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions was a little concerning, but it's not a terrible season. We're just comparing it with what we thought he was going to be. So I like Stroud. He comes with less question marks than Caleb Williams does. He's a more established player.
Okay. CJ Stroud or Caleb Williams, Kevin?
Brian, you and I are in lockstep here.
There we go.
All right. So, when you talk about guys, because CJ Stroud had his sophomore slump a year ago. And so, but you mentioned it, 4,100 to 3,700 yards. Everything across the board was down for CJ Stroud last year. And they've had a year to, be able to work on this and get him back in sync. And we all thought going into last year that CJ Stroud was going to be a top 10 quarterback. And so he took a step back. I think he can step right back into where he was. And we have not seen Williams yet. And this is his sophomore year. So I think Ben Johnson can negate that a little bit. But if I had to bet on one of these guys, I'm going to take the proven guy with the proven receiver room. So I'm going to go with CJ Stroud as well.
I am really big on first year under an offensive coach. I think when you watch these coaching changes, the first year under the offensive-minded coach seems to go pretty well. The second year, it tends to fall off. So I think Ben Johnson and the Bears have potential to be surprisingly good this year in year one under the system. That being said, the only thing I hate I hate to do more than tell you guys you're wrong is to tell you guys are right. And you guys are right in the situation. CJ Stroud, I take him over Caleb Williams. I think he's going to have a really good season again. You throw in the rookie receivers and Jaden Higgins and Jaden Noel on top of Nico Collins and Schultz and Kirks and all that kind of stuff. So I kicked myself in a draft. The draft I was in Saturday, I took Justin Fields. I punted on quarterback. I didn't pick one till really late. And I picked him, and then I waited around. I picked my second quarterback, and I don't even remember who it was. And CJ Stroud got picked. I was like, wait, he was still there? I was like, oh man, I should have picked CJ Stroud. I just can't believe how low he's going in drafts right now. It blows my mind. Again, when you look at that division, you look at the weapons they added for him. You another year in the system. I mean, it just makes sense that Stroud's going to be really good again this year. So incredible value for him. I think Williams will be fine. I think he'll do well this year too, but I'll take Stroud also over Williams. All right, let's go to running back now, because what we did last week in our draft, I took Traveon Henderson in the second round, late second round. And I think he belongs in the conversation with Bucky Irving. And Bucky Irving in Tampa, great year last year, unexpectedly great year last year in Tampa. And so now he comes in, he's getting, a top 7 running back spot, whatever it may be. And I cannot get off of how excited I am about Traveon Henderson. So I wanted to get your guys' thought. If you're sitting there second round and your option is Traveon Henderson or Bucky Irving, which direction are you going, Kevin Wilson?
Okay, so let's start with Bucky Irving. Okay, so 1,122 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns, and 47 catches. He did it all. Switch over to Mr. Henderson. And as you mentioned, you're very high on him, and I understand why. And there's reasons for that. He averaged 7.1 yards per carry in college, and he returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. And it looks like he can be a receiver and a runner as well. And he's got Stevenson behind him, who is no threat whatever to take any kind of significant field away from him. But seeing as how Bucky Irving has done it and done it all, and he's in a much better offense to me up there or down there in Tampa. So I'm going to go with Bucky Irving as the guy that's going in the second round, and I think he's a solid second round running back. So I'm going to go with Bucky Irving here.
Okay, Brian, rookie or second year man, Bucky Irving or Traveon Henderson?
Kev, we're going 3 for 3 tonight. I'm going Bucky Irving too, and which a couple of days ago I think I would have said Henderson, but I started to think about it. I thought about all the hype that he's getting. And people are forgetting that, like, Ramondre Stevenson is still there and has been a decent enough running back. I know there was that report that him and Antonio Gibson were going to be 50-50 split. Do we really believe that Antonio Gibson can be a productive player at this point in his career? So Stevenson is still going to get some touches. While I do think, like, looking back on it, Henderson could be a second-round pick, I think Irving's the more solidified second-round pick right now.
You guys. All right,
Bring
fine.
it.
I'll give it to you. I'll take the L on this one, but may it be noted, Traveon Henderson over Bucky Irving. End of the year, we'll check back on it and see who outscored.
Okay,
who.
at what time is it right now? At what is it coming up on 9 p.m. Central?
Yeah.
Okay.
I cannot tell you how giddy I am. I got him in another league, and I passed on him because I went with Omarion Hampton. I waited a little bit longer, took Omarion Hampton, thought I already got Henderson in the other league. I'll pass. Came back around 2 rounds later, and he was still there, and I was like, no, I'm taking him too. So I'm loaded.
Which is the point, if you remember, I made when you took him in the second round, that he would have been available if he'd waited.
Yeah. Well, but he wasn't available because I took him. And I'm sticking to it. But I'll let you guys win this one. I'll take the L. But I love Traveon Henderson this season.
Well, no slam on Traveon Henderson. No slam on him because I think
no, not at all.
He's going to have a great year. He's going to have a great year. And as I mentioned, Stevenson is a throwaway guy as far as I'm concerned because I would have nothing whatever to do with him.
Stevenson likes to throw away the ball too, so that's one thing I'm banking on for Henderson getting more touches as well. So, all right, I like it, guys. That is that's read option presented by Rotobot AI. More information to come next week, but you're going to hear a lot about Rotobot AI in the coming days. All right, let's set into our final segment. We call it the Red Zone. All right, guys, we're 2 minutes away from being an hour long in the program. We'll make this as quick as we can, but draft must-gets, guys you're targeting in rounds 10 or later. Brian, start us off. Who we targeting this year?
Well, I just talked about him, Christian Kirk. This is a guy that was proven, used to be a 1,000-yard receiver just 2 years ago and has failed to live up to it because of injuries. I think in this new offense with Houston, having C.J. Stroud throw through him, who is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence, he's going to maybe not return the 1,000-yard receiver, but be a really solid receiver. He's a high-floor guy and someone that could pair nicely if you go after one of those high-risk, high-reward players.
All right, Kevin Wilson, who are you targeting?
Okay, so you can call me a homer once again, but and I actually did target him in our draft at Zach Charbonnet over there in Seattle because, as you remember at the beginning, I was very high on Kenneth Walker, but there has been absolutely no positive news coming out about him going into the season. And so, and you can get him much later in the 11th round or so. And when Walker didn't play, he had 18 touches per game and 19 fantasy points per game. And so as a late round guy, I think there's all kinds of value to be had here, as they're going to play both of them, even if Walker is at 100%, which I hope he is, because then they're going to have a heck of a running game going on up in Seattle. But if you can and I've targeted him in the draft yesterday as well when we were live. And so I am absolutely in on Zach Charbonnet. So if you can get him later, I think there's all kinds of value here.
Yeah, let's stick in Seattle. I've been targeting Sam Darnold as my QB2. I don't want him as QB1. As much as I've said Minnesota should have kept him, all that good stuff, he doesn't give me anything athletically that I love for fantasy football. But as QB2, I need him for at least one start this season. I love Sam Darnold at the value you get him at right now, late in drafts. Everyone's off on Sam Darnold. I'm just telling you, the guy threw for a whole lot of touchdowns and a whole lot of yards, and I really like his weapons down there, especially with Jackson Smith and Jigba. So that's who I'm targeting late as well. Brian, you got somebody else you're targeting?
Not a player, but a position. Just like you said, Vince, I'm going quarterback in the 10th or 11th round. This is where I think is a perfect spot to get one. This is where guys like, Dak Prescott, Drake May, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young are going. Load up on your receivers, load up on the running backs at the beginning so you have a good bench, good depth, and then go get your quarterback who can get you 15 points a game. It won't look sexy, but it's a smart move.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I got Jordan Love in our draft in round 11 or 12. So, yeah. All right, Kevin, who else you got?
Okay, so we talked about Nick Chubb already, so I won't get into that any further. If he's still going late in your draft, target him. But a guy we talked about him last week as well, and that's Brenton Strange from the Jacksonville Jaguars. As a late round tight end, this is a guy is a tight end 1. And if you wait on a tight end, this is the guy who could cash in for you, especially if their quarterback can finally find his way. And so, this is the guy you can get way after, 10th round. I could think I got him next to last round in our draft. And so there's all kinds of value to be found here because he's now the tight end 1. Ingram's in Colorado. So this guy has got value. So if you're looking for a tight end later in the draft, this is the dude I'd look at.
I like to stash guys. And so another guy that I'm targeting is Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco. He's going on the pup, so you can draft him at the last pick or second to last pick. You can stick him on your IR for 4 weeks. When he comes back, they've already said the goal is week 6, Tampa Bay. That's at Tampa Bay when he comes back. Then he's got Atlanta at home, at Houston, at the New York Giants, and the Rams. That'll be his first, 5 matchups when he comes back. I think that the 49ers are going to be in desperate need of help at the wide receiver position. And when you're really spending nothing on them, where you can go snag him, throw him on the IL, and he's not going to take up a roster spot either. So I love targeting Brandon Ayuk right now, and because it's kind of a low risk, high reward opportunity, in my opinion, with him. So he's kind of my go-to guy there towards the end of the draft as well. So I don't know. Any other thoughts, guys, on late round targets?
No, that's all I have.
Well, just one guy to throw out there is the guy that 10th round. And that was Keon Coleman up there in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And, had an injury, last year. He's in an uneven wide receiver room who's got the league MVP thrown to him. So if you get him in the 10th round or later, there's value to be found here.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, Keon Coleman, again, not a great year last year. He's available down there. I think that's a great snag there, Kevin, as well. Some options because there's that weird spot of wide receivers that I don't love, where I just got to wait a little bit later and get some more rookies and get some other guys, things like that too. And that's a good spot for Keon Coleman in the sophomore season. He needs to step up. So we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see
if he doesn't step up, maybe there's no junior season for him.
Yeah.
At least not in Buffalo. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. He'll probably get signed by the Browns, but that's a whole nother story. All right, guys, let's talk about what we got going on this week. Kevin, what do you got going on this week?
Well, we just as you mentioned, we did our baseball show yesterday, and it's the last week of before playoffs begin. So if you're in fantasy baseball and you're in desperate need of making the playoffs, you're going to want to watch that show. We put out a couple of clips, you and I, from that show that you're going to want to pay attention to. And Friday, we will have a Seahawks session show, and we'll get pretty deep into what was going on with the cuts, and there were some surprises there to me. So we'll be talking about that on Friday. Saturday, no credentials required has returned. And so check that out Saturday morning. And, of course, you and I will be live once again Sunday talking absolute playoff stuff, because the playoffs will the next day begin. So all kinds of things going on there. You can see my articles at the Belly Up website, and you can always find me on Twitter at Kevin62 WILSEA.
Perfect. Brian Germinaro, what do you got going on this week?
So like always, you can find me on Twitter at BrianPG1016. Find all my written work there. Third and 10 podcast, new episode out now. We did the Giants 53-man roster, as well as all the other cuts and goings in the NFL, as well as some Mets talk. So go check out there. Thursday, we're going to be doing 2 division breakdowns, NFC West and NFC North. So that should be fun. And then check out for Monday, Notre Dame The Briefing, all the major takeaways from Notre Dame versus Miami on Sunday night.
I love it, man. Notre Dame is an intriguing team.
Oh, very.
This year, they're
That's right. And playing in Miami in late August is not a fun thing to do.
No, it's not.
Except for it's going to be like, I think 80 degrees down there or something like that.
Yeah, I looked into tickets. I have some friends down there, and they said I could crash on their couch, but tickets way too expensive to go down there.
Of course.
They're like $200. You're in section 500. I'm like, I'm just going to watch the game on my couch.
Well, I got my show on Thursday with my dad. We are really focusing in on week 1. We're picking games. We got 5 games that we're going to pick: Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, Florida State, LSU, Clemson, Utah, UCLA, and why not Austin Peay and MTSU. We'll be picking those games on Thursday. We'll be talking about all the week 1 matchups, plus NFL news going on as well. That's the Sports Stove Football Show on Thursday evening. Then, of course, on Sunday, you can catch me twice on Sunday, and here's how. First of all, catch me live Sunday night with Kevin Wilson, the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show. We're going to, like you said, talking fantasy baseball playoffs because, well, it's that time.
The playoffs.
So we'll be doing that. You can also catch, we got a new series out called the Belly Up Mic Check, Belly Up Sports Mic Check, and we're interviewing different hosts around the Belly Up Sports Network. 2 episodes have already dropped on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel with Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, and Brent Radlinsky, host of the 1420 Sports Bar podcast as well. Then this coming Sunday, we're dropping a new episode, and that will be with Brian's co-host, Nathan Nguyen. He'll be on the show this week as well. So you can catch me on that Sunday. That will drop we'll drop Sunday morning, something to pay attention to right before all the good football pregame stuff comes on and all that kind of stuff. We got something for you to pay attention to.
You might want to ask him who he paid off, because he had the number 1 pick Tuesday night last, and he had the number 1 pick in my home draft yesterday. So there's something fishy going on there.
Well, Kevin, who's the one that set the draft order in our league?
That would be you. So okay.
Yeah,
so
I accept Venmo, PayPal, all those good things. So
okay.
No, that's gonna be a fun time. We'll be back here next Tuesday. We will be getting you ready for week 1 of the NFL. Thursday night game, Sunday day games. I think we have a Friday game, don't we?
Friday game from Brazil, if I'm correct, right? Brazil, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Sao Paulo. Yeah. Lots to discuss next week, getting ready for actual advice for the season. We got some start sits for you. We got all kinds of good stuff coming for you next week. And of course, with the help of Rotobot AI, all as well. So we sure appreciate you tuning in to this episode of the Belly Up Sports Fantasy Live Football Show. Boy, that's a mouthful. Follow Belly Up Fantasy on Twitter at Belly Up Fantasy. Always check out bellyupsports.com for all kinds of written content, and the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel for all kinds of video content. We will see you next week to talk real live NFL football. Have a great draft week.
That's right.